Business Focus with Kudzie, Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast.
Nineteen minutes before 8 a.m. is our time. It is Business Focus as always, right here on Capi Talk with Kudzie, Sharara. We discuss a lot of what's happening in the world of business. Good morning, Kudzie. How are you today?
Good morning, Tinashe. Good morning, Patsan, and good morning, everyone.
Great. Thank you so much, Kudzie. Let's begin by looking at the trading update from the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange yesterday.
Thank you, Tinashe. So looking at the ZSC, the all-share index was positive, albeit with a marginal gain of 0.62%. The top 10 index doing slightly better with a 0.67% gain, and then the top 15 index gaining by 1.05%. On the VFX, it was a marginal 0.2%. So you can see there not much movement in terms of share prices. You could say the market is trading sideways. Top riser for the day was BAT, up by 14.28%. Tenor putting on 8.33%. Delta adding 1.27%, and then there were also gains in Econet and Wildell, but the gains were less than 1%. Looking at the top losers, First Mutual Property was the biggest loser with a 13.04% drop. Remember, First Mutual Property, we were talking about their trading update, their quarterly trading update, where they were telling us that of their revenues, they are only managing to collect about 70% of their rental revenues. But in terms of occupants, they are more than 90%. Their properties are more than 90% occupied. So it will be interesting to see what's happening in the minds of investors with the counter dropping by 13.04%. Star Africa also down by 6.24%. I think Star Africa is one of those most volatile stocks on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. But year to date, I think it has done well than others with a 242% gain so far in the year. ZSL also down by 4.26%, and then there were losses in Tanganda and Mikus with marginal losses of 0.28 and 0.25 respectively. And then investors continue to put more money into Delta, about 16 million worth of Delta ZIG, 16 million ZIG worth of Delta shares changing hands there. NMB getting about 1.1 million, and then Econet, Citco, and BAT also getting a sizable chunk of the funds that were invested. And talking about NMB, which I said they got about 1.1 million, they've got their trading update in the papers this morning, where they are telling us that their operating income actually for the 9 months to end of September recorded as a 10% increase to 1.3 billion ZIG. That's their total income, and they are saying that this positive performance was driven by the diversified product offering, increased transaction volumes, and a strong balance sheet. So their balance sheet is actually anchored in US dollar-denominated assets funded by offshore credit lines and supporting productive sectors of the economy. So NMB recently got about 25 million from a foreign institution, Propraco, and then they are working on getting a further 75 million that they want to bring from offshore, and most of these funds are targeted for the export sector, the SMEs, and so on. And then they are also telling us that loans and advances amounted to 2.7 billion. That is out of their total assets of about 5.5 billion. And they say that most of their loans are in US. 90% of their loans and advances are in US dollars. So if you are talking about NMB, 90% of the loans that they've given out to their customers are in US dollars. And then you look at their deposits to say, okay, who is depositing money into NMB as well, and in what currency? So 87% of the deposits into NMB Bank are in US dollars. So 87%, yes. So their loans and advances at 90% in US dollars, and then their deposits at 87% in US dollars. So that automatically shows you the level of dollarization in the economy. We are talking about a formal bank that is significantly trading in dollars like that. And we all know that the informal sector itself trades more also in even more than this in US dollars. So that again shows you the level of dollarization in the economy, it also shows you the level of zig in the economy.
Is there also an indication of the deposits in terms of zig hard cash?
Hard cash? No,
not deposit as in transfers, but as in
hard cash. No, not. They didn't share those numbers to say of their customers. Are they bringing in the zig into the market, into the formal banking channels? It will also be interesting. But remember that the amount of zig in circulation in physical notes, they're less than 0% of.
So it's more for the electronic money.
Electronic money. Yeah, there isn't much of the physical notes out there, and unfortunately, they also quickly. They no, what you call it? The word is escaping me. Worn out easily worn out. The quality of that paper is really not good. I've seen a few
and it gets dirty easily.
And I'm not sure what kind of material they used there on that one. It's interesting. This is money that you want it to be durable, but if it can't be durable even in its physical form, what about its actual true value as well? Once you start to see that money depreciating in its physical form like that, it loses value even for you.
So Kudzie, let's talk about NMB as the bank that you're analyzing. Kuti kana 87% of the deposits in USD anditi kureva kuti ma transactions akawanda vanhu vari kushandisa USD vachitonori deposita cash wise here kana kuti madeposita yekuti pay me via my bank.
They didn't share that information, unfortunately, to say in terms of their deposits what exactly. But you remember that with these banks, remember that $4 million that was stolen in Bulawayo, that was hard cash. So indeed, they are also getting hard cash deposits into their vaults. That's a given. Maybe not as much as we would want for things to be formal, but I think they do. I always see these security companies transporting
the cash in transit.
From various banks. I've seen several. So yes, there is some level of cash deposits that is taking place. These tax shops, at the end of the day, they go and buy from wholesalers, former wholesalers, and the manufacturers themselves. And I don't think those ones, they would want to take that risky under the pillow.
So Kudzie, if we're saying that NMB is recording 87% of deposits in the USD, can we safely say people are now depositing their USDs into banks?
Not really.
Or they still have pillow banks?
It's difficult to tell, Tinashe, because when they talk of deposits, right, they're even talking about, they got loans, 25 million. 25 million recently. They're working on another 75 million. Mario, count as deposits as well.
Okay.
Yes. So it's not, when you talk of, can I talk to in financial terms?
Individual deposits.
Yeah, when we talk of financial terms, when you talk of deposits, it's not like you are taking physical notes only and depositing. You're talking about anything that is recorded under depositors, which is money that does not belong to the bank.
Okay.
Imari yako, imari institution,
no matter which way it has come
in, very recorded as deposits, because it's a liability to the bank. Chikweret, bank rinenge ritori nechikwereti chako iwo, because iwo wakaisa mari yako mubank, bank rinorekodha as if rine chikwereti chako, it's a liability to the bank. But bank rikapa inini mari, even parinopa inini mari handiti, as a loan, muaccount mangu inobva yanorekodwa as report as deposit as well. So vanozobuda nyaya yemoney creation pepe, because bank rinenge radeposita mari into my account yakutoverengwa yayanguka saka bank ndoratove nechikwereti because mari yayangu, I can withdraw it at any time. So that's what we're talking about.
All right, Kudzie, let's also look at all right, before we check on the regional and international markets, there's a question here that says, please can Kudzie explain to me if at all we still have an official exchange rate which is standard and applying to every bank. Over the weekend, my bank was at 30.14, while another bank was at 26.5. Zvinofamba sei, zviri kumbofamba sei up?
So according to what the Reserve Bank said a while ago, is that banks can are allowed to buy money from. They can buy from you if you have got a foreign currency. They can buy from anyone. They can also buy from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, and they buy at different exchange rates.
Okay,
right. And then the Reserve Bank, what they then do is to say at the end of the day, one it a weighted average to say, okay, pane $40 yakatrade at 25, pakazeta $100 yakatrade at 26. Pakazeta $30 yakatrade, they do a weighted average. That the average, kwama bank kuti ane zero pamaitrade paipa average yenyu mese yanga iri rate e. And that becomes a guidance to banks to say, okay, so where should I position myself? And then it also becomes a guidance kuma shops now. That my shops also they can trade at the exchange rate at which they would have bought their currency. I think plus a 5%, you can imagine, which also banks are allowed to vakatenga ku Reserve Bank at 25, for example. Vanoisa ka 5%.
So inenge
yakuhandizoti 5% of 25 is 30. Quick maths zako so yes, you see my banks and my exchange rates akasiyana. So it's a competition. It shouldn't be a uniform rate. But what you then come up with at the end of the day is an average. And wakutora kuti ava vanga vachitrade yakati vakatrade mari yakati ava vatrade yakati, and then panoita ka average kanoguida now kuti so this is where the rate should be, right? So yeah.
All right, just briefly, Kudzie, let's look at regional and international markets, because there's a subject that's I would want to ask. I've seen a lot of people asking much about it. Let's look at regional and international.
Yeah.
markets.
So when looking at the region, I think it's a mixed trade as of yesterday. I think trading was mixed, and we're seeing some gains across that's North Africa. Well, not Western Africa actually. When you talk of Ivory Coast, Nigeria, and then you also go top there to Morocco. Those markets were positive, but there were also losses in Tunisia, Ghana, and then the biggest loser was the Egyptian stock market, down by 1.24%. And then you come to down south, you've got the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the Botswana Stock Exchange, joining Zimbabwe and Malawi on the positive territory. And then you've got losses in Namibia, Kenya, Uganda, and then Zambia, Lusaka Stock Exchange being the biggest loser there with a 1.45% drop. So you could roughly say that the market was mixed in across the continent. And then just doing a quick look at our currencies this morning. So you've got your $1 is trading to 0.94 euros. 0.78 British pound. So you can see there the dollar has really strengthened against these currencies. On average, I used to know that one US dollar will give you like 0.72 pound, but it's now giving you 0.78 pound, which means that for your relative out there to send you a dollar, they now need to fork out more pounds to send to you. If they wanted to send you
100 pounds.
And if they want to send you $100,
$100, yes,
they now have to send you 78 pounds instead of 72 makora furai. So you can see they now have to fork out more. Oh, what happens is ivo vakada kumaintaina 72 yavo, it means kwauriwa ichoyairi 100 yako iri less. Yes, but what we have seen though is that remittances into Zimbabwe have been growing. So it means the instead of cutting varotowedzera, and then also obviously there are a lot of Zimbabweans that have also gone out to the diaspora, and they are adding to what can be sent back home. 1 year the rand is slightly strengthened against the dollar now. It's back below 18. Remember, it was now back above 18, but it's now back at 17.96 South African rand. So rand doing strong there against the dollar. It has really done well since their elections, which came up with a government of national unity. And then the Zambian kwacha is at 27.6 against the dollar.
All right, Kudzie, and lastly, 5 minutes before 8. The year is coming to an end. And a lot of things coming around. What is the state of the pension fund industry right now?
Thank you, Tinashe. So for me, I don't know. Maybe I do my math the wrong way. But when I look at the pension fund industry and I look at the total assets, my assets are right now as a pension industry. My buildings is right now. Anything you know the asset, whether my shares are right now per stock exchange, my buildings, whatever they have, all those assets are worth $2.18 billion US dollars. 2.18 billion US dollars. Now, how many are these people? Very active. Tisingaverengere vatove beneficiaries kudhara. Vari kucontributor ku pension fund. One of the members of the pension fund, they are about 955,000. So kuzvikanzi mapension funds nhasi hatichada chinhu chinonzi pension muzimbabwe vanhu piwa mari dzenyu handiti vanhu ivava vanogovana mari iri about roughly about $2,000 each, $2,251 each. They are not pure
out
each.
of the 2.18 billion.
Yes. So vakagovana imari yese unowana about 2,000.
Is it a fair share?
I don't think it's a fair share. Imagine just masi say 2.1 billion. Kutokundwa nemutapa ine 16 billion. Ndaifunza mumwe friend yangu anoshanda kuti masi saya maka yakaitwa nakanzi no evaluation yawo yakaitwa independent so 16 billion iri mutapa. But my pension funds ese nemakore sayatana wati nemapension funds anongori nevalue ye 955,000 thereabout.
Why do we still keep on investing?
So what happens is that when you contribute your money, Tinashe, Patsani, they invest that money, right? And so it also depends so you can't entirely blame them because it also depends on how the economy is performing. So imagine tinema pension funds and nema building arumtown, my buildings they are empty, and the value of that building because when you're doing your valuations you also consider generator income occupants and things like that. So my buildings akatengwa those are vanhu complain about munhu akashanda kwemakore akata kupiwa so peanuts dzakadai so, but you have to look at kuti okay mari yakainvest kwapai, so you find kuti vamwe vakainvesta into these assets and my buildings are actually empty. Vamwe vakainvesta pamastock market. And you remember what happened before dollarization hyperinflation my pension fund mazhinji anga akainvest anonzi money market instruments anditi akabva airodwa. Tine rimwe gore futi rekuti vanga vachiisa US dollar after dollarization from 2010 to 2016 2017 my pension funds my contributions my contributor US anditi achiiswa muma assets mamwe ma-assets acho yakabva hanzi anga ari ma-US dollars akabva hanzi ese zimdola. So you see you can't entirely blame the pension funds kuti havasi kugona basa.
Hanzi kuma-pensions ikoko, I wanted to withdraw my money since I worked in the clothing industry for 4 years, but ndane 2 months ndichifambira mari yacho apa iri kunzi it's 580 zig only.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. We are no 4 years. Kuna ngakaita ma 20 years or more. Vari kuwana kuti similar amount.
But is it something that you can fight under the labor court?
Remember that we had Dr. Muradzikwa here, and so there is you can't fight because as long as there is evidence how your money becomes what it is now, there is belief obviously with IPEC working on that. Remember the compensation. Hey, makaruza yenyu mari through hyperinflation and stuff, but mune dzimwe mari dzamakatsotsa vanhu. And we had Dr. Muradzikwa vachitotaura very strong about it kuti ipai vanhu mari dzava nditi. I'm not sure, I think we need a follow-up with her kuti zvapapi, remember, because she was really strong about it. Mari vanhu vangadai vakadzipiwa back in February thereabout. Now tatove muna November and I'm not sure how many were passed to. We know, remember that it's that point kwengonzi one pension fund yange yapasa, I think inenge kumimosa. So where are we now? I think we need that. I'll talk to Mr. Lloyd Gumbo, where are we now when it comes to these issues in my pension fund? But back to issue.
Briefly, time
okay, maybe we can pick it up on another day. But yeah, I think for me it leads to old age poverty when our assets we are not sweating our assets as pension funds.
Okay, thanks Kudzie for Business Focus.
Business Focus with Kudzie Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast.